Welcome, Mr. Nadov. Thank you so much for joining the event and hosting this event for us. All yours.
Thank you. And it's really great to be here with some folks. So let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Ali Nadov, and I have, so if I go back, I came to the States in about 1990, 91 actually, when I started my graduate studies in New York at NYU. Before that, I was born and studied in Iran. I was studying physics at the University of Sharif, the Sharif University of Technology, for those who may know that. Then I moved to the States to continue my graduate studies at NYU. That was 91. I got my PhD in mathematics in 95. My main focus was on mathematical physics. Then I did a one-year postdoc at University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And then I went to University of Michigan, the math department, and I became an assistant professor there. I was there for 3 years, and then I decided to move to industry. And I went through a few startups till 2013. I was in Texas for a while, and then moved in 2013 to Bay Area and joined Google. And I have been there for almost 12 years now. I've had different roles at Google, and my current role there is I'm the Uber tech lead in one of the teams, which is called the identity team. I directly do the work on Android devices and lead a team of developers there. Whenever you log into Google using your Google account or your passkeys saved on the Google account or username passwords that are saved on their Google account, our team handles everything related to that, basically keeping you safe, secure, and make it easy for you to log into Google and to your apps using Google across all different surfaces. So that is a very brief history of what I've done in the past, and I'd be glad to answer any question that you may have.
Thank you very much. If you have any question, everyone, please either raise your hand or put it in the chat one by one so we can distribute it evenly to all participants. One of the usual questions that students have is, well, how was the transition for you from university to industry? It was your own interest, or did you see a necessity to do that?
Sure. So it wasn't a necessity. So I did that mostly because I wanted to do that. I had always been interested in programming and doing things on the software side. So even when I was, for example, teaching as an assistant professor at the University of Michigan, and that is back in 1997. So it was a while ago. I had created, for example, a system on my own computer at work, which would allow the students to send an email, and it would compile all the grades for them and statistics about their grades and send them back to them. And so my small things here and there, I was always interested in getting my hands dirty with. So in 2000, I decided to actually give it a try and see what it takes. And so that is the first job that I had outside of the academic areas. Joined the company in Austin, which was actually hiring mostly PhD folks in all sorts of areas, mostly in mathematics and physics and computer science. So when I joined there, it was a very interesting environment and I really enjoyed working there. And I learned a lot and I started reading more and learning more about the software engineering and so on. So it was mostly something that I decided to do. The transition it can be difficult, can be easy. It depends on the nature of, it depends on you, basically, how much interest you have. Usually when you do something because you like to do, things are much easier and more fun. If you are forced to do something, then obviously that doesn't give you the same satisfaction. In my case, since I did it on my own and I wanted to do that, I was enjoying the transition and I was learning new things and I was contributing to the team and all of that. So that was the beginning of my career outside of universities. And till now, I have been doing that. Across all these years that I have been working in industry, I have also been one way or the other kind of involved in physics or math. I have been, even when I was in Texas and working in those startups, I was teaching at the University of UT Austin, University of Texas at Austin, and I was enjoying that. It was just one course every semester to satisfy my other side of things, my other interests. And I've kept myself busy with following up with the most recent researches and work that is happening in that area. And during my during the day work, I do focus on software engineering and things along those lines. And I can easily say that I do enjoy those as well. So if you enjoy doing these, if you want to switch from one area to another, as long as you have the interest and the will to really put the work in and spend time on that, I think it can be very fun and rewarding.
Thank you very much. We have a question in the chat. Did you do any internship to help build your confidence and skills to work for these companies?
No, I actually didn't go through any internship at the time that I started working in the industry. I kind of jumped into that, did interviews, and after I was accepted, I started working there directly without internship. However, at Google, we deal with a lot of interns. It is very common that mostly during the summertime, we have interns that sign up in the prior November or December to become an intern, and they are reviewed, and they send a resume, etc. They go through the interviews and all of that, and then once they pass those interviews, they internally, different teams can say, okay, I need one intern in this area, etc. And then those interns get distributed between different teams. And I have noticed that it is actually a very good experience and entry and gateway for people to join the company. For one, for a lot of those folks, this is their first experience in a real working environment. So in that sense, they start learning for the first time what it means to work in a company. And Google is a big company, so it has a lot of perks and also a lot of processes, etc. in place. And the second thing is that they really then get a first hand on saying whether they really like that or not. From outside, you may have some images and some ideas that, oh, working here might be like this, and I would enjoy that every minute of it, etc. But once you start working somewhere, then things are different in the sense that you really get to see what it means to work there. At Google, when we have interns, we treat them as employees in the sense that we give them tasks and we involve them in projects, and they are supposed to work on the projects. And before graduating from their internship, they're supposed to deliver the results that are expected from them. So it is a very serious work at Google. And in fact, their contributions in many cases goes into production, meaning that the things that people all over the world see from Google may be actually coming from a lot of interns as well. So they do contribute to what we release in production. And I guess these are the main things for a participating in internship. The third advantage of that, at least for Google, is that if you join Google as an intern, then we keep a record of what you did, how you did that. At the end of that project that you take on, Google will collect some feedback from the people that kind of hosted you and managed you. Those feedbacks stay there. So if after finishing your internship and after getting your degrees, etc., you want to join Google, you have a much, much stronger case to be accepted because by then we have, or Google has learned about you. One of the most difficult tasks in hiring a person is the company that is trying to hire you doesn't know much about you. All they know is a piece of paper, which is your CV, which these days can be great looking CVs created either by you or your friend ChatGPT or Gemini or something. And in addition to that, they have the very limited amount of interviews that they run you through. So all of that together is still a very small amount of information about you, how you are going to perform in real world, and what's the depth of your knowledge, how much motivated you are. And all of that is not known to the company. Now compare that with someone who has done an internship. So we have plenty of information. We know the person. We know how hardworking that person is. So if you do a good job while you're doing internship, there's a very, very high chance that you can be easily hired by that company. So that's the third advantage of doing the internship.
Thank you. So another question usually students have is, many of our students are transferring to different universities. Some of them to San Jose State University, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, and you name it. How is it different graduating from a university like San Jose State University, from UC Berkeley or top-ranked universities in the hiring process, and how does it guarantee the success of applicants who get into Google or big tech companies?
Sure. So I would say that the most important thing is not the university that you graduate from, but it is how you do the work, how much you really know. So let me tell you something about the hiring process at Google. So if you apply and you very initially, a group of people look at the resumes, and then once you pass that very, very initial step, which is, yes, I sent my resume, now let's start interviewing that person. Once you get to the interviewing process, then from that point on till the point that you are either hired or not, we really don't care about where you graduated from. And the process is built to actually ensure that. Let me tell you what the process is. First, Google sets up some phone interviews. This is pre-COVID, in which the personal in contact was much easier. I think after the COVID, during the COVID at least, it was very limited in terms of the personal contact, which I will talk about that in a bit. But we first have I guess about 2, sometimes 3 phone interviews. And when we do interviews, in those phone interviews, which are the very initial step of the interview, is that, for example, I, as a software developer at Google, go through some training how to do the interviews. And then I receive an email saying that you are selected to do an interview, a phone interview with this person at this time, and this is the link, etc. What we do is that we receive the CV of the person just so we can look at that and see what that person claims to know, what are the areas that the person knows, what languages the person knows in terms of the computer programming, etc. And then we, during the phone interview, we start asking the person some real questions like, there are usually coding. I'm mostly going to talk about software engineering because that's the area that I know. If you are going to go into a different area like program management or things like that, I'm not too familiar with that, so I apologize for that. But in the software engineering world, we start asking you some coding questions and also some personal interaction questions. For example, we say, let's say that you are working on a project and this happens in that project. How would you react to that? How would you handle that? Once you are past those interviews, the very initial step of the phone interviews, then we set up some in-depth interviews. In the past, it was managed like flying you to the headquarters, which is in Mountain View. And then during one day, you would go through 5 interviews, one after the other, and a lunch in between, which was also with one of the Googlers. During those interviews, the role of the person sitting with you and conducting the interview was to give you some problems and then writing down everything that you do while you're answering that problem or writing code on the whiteboard, etc. So any question that the person asks or you ask, we write down those, and we copy the code that you write, we copy down what question we asked or what the answer was, all of that. So all the interaction is kind of noted down in our notes. Then we send these notes to the group, to a group of a committee that is in charge of hiring. When these collection of notes are sent to that committee, the committee doesn't know who the interviewee is. The person is not known to that group. No name, nothing, no gender, no age, nothing personal about that person is going to be revealed to that committee. The committee only knows about these are the questions that were asked, this is the level of the person, and these are the answers that the person gave. And in fact, if I'm interviewing you, I don't make any judgment saying that, oh yes, this person, we should hire this person or we should not hire this person in that level. This is the committee which, based only on your performance, makes a decision. So we kind of try to remove any biases about sex, gender, the different physical attributes, the nationality, how well you speak English or not. All of those things are kind of factored out. They are not present in the decision making. So it makes it purely based on what you really know as a person trying to get this job. And then that committee decides, and then that committee may ask from each of those persons who conducted the interview, what was your opinion? Should we hire this or not? Sometimes we can say, hey, we really need to hire this person. When we interview someone, we may come across an individual which we strongly feel that is a very, very strong person. We can add that comment, but that comment is one of many factors that that committee takes into account when they want to decide if they want to hire someone or not. So although the university that you got your degree is important, maybe initially in looking at different resumes, because at Google, we receive more than 1 million resumes per year. So it is very hard. But once you are decided to be one of the ones that needs to be interviewed, from that point on, it is really based on your performance, not from which university you got your degree or what was your GPA, etc. Obviously, you need to be a good person in terms of the knowledge and the skills to be able to impress that committee with your responses. But that doesn't have necessarily anything to do with the place that you graduated from. You can be graduating from a small place or a very famous place and be equally capable and skilled to be hired.
Thank you. Next question is about the rise of AI. You mentioned that you test applicants, their coding skills, going to the whiteboard, and write down some codes there. What advice do you have for students at the college and university level when they're practicing coding skills and using AI, and in general, how they can take advantage of AI in helping their skills to, in a sense, to be polished, more polished.
Sure. So with different AI tools available these days, whether it is ChatGPT or Gemini or any other tool of that sort, you can actually learn a lot from them, and you can kind of work with them as a companion. That is the preferred way of using those tools. Not as a tool that solves a problem for you, but as a tool that, as a companion, helps you find a solution or direct you or find your problems or quiz you on these things. So you can ask any of these systems, for example, test me on this area at a very high level or low level or mid level or something like that, and give me a bunch of problems for me to solve, and then grade me based on my performance and tell me where I make mistakes, etc. So if you work with them as a companion, as someone who's mentoring you or helping you getting better, that is a very useful thing. One mistake that some people make is that they let everything to be done by an AI system, and they just sit back and relax while the AI does the work for them. That is not going to help you in the long term if your goal is to make an impression during the hiring process. At the very early stage of the hiring, you may be able to use some of these AI tools to get in past some of those very earliest stages. But rest assured, you are not going to be able to use those to pass the more rigorous steps following that. And that is where you really want to shine. That is really up to you as a person. You can get help from them, from the AIs, while you're practicing. You can tell them there are books and articles and posts out there that says, for example, what are the typical questions that Google or Meta or other companies ask during the interviews for software engineering. You can find books and articles on that. And also these tools can easily provide a very good set of questions for you based on the information available. So take advantage of that type of things when these AIs do the work for you. You can also use them in some other capacity. For example, Google has this Notebook LLM, which is actually a great tool for you to feed to that, let's say, a textbook or a chapter of a book or a bunch of articles. And then it can help you summarize those and create a study plan for you. So use those tools as a study guide, as a helper, not as a solver. Because if you do that, you are not going to gain the skills that you want to really be successful. And at the end of the day, even if you are so smart that you can fool everyone who's doing the interview and you get into one of these companies, then what? You will not be able to perform well among other people there if you really don't have the appropriate skills, and it can show itself easily. And the person that, or the individual that suffers the most is going to be you. So you want to join a company that you can thrive, you can enjoy, and you can contribute and be part of that community and company. So the only way to do that is to really gain the skills yourself, potentially with help of all these tools that are out there, but really getting there on your own with those helps, not kind of delegating the work to those systems.
Thank you. I have one last question, then we can ask students if they have any question to add. Right now, the job market is not very good. Do you recommend students who are getting their bachelor's moving on to master's program or PhD program and continue their education, or what other advice do you have for them to be successful in finding jobs?
I'm usually very careful and hesitant to give advice because I don't consider myself at a point or level that I can really be a good advisor in that sense. What I can say is that what I would do if I were in that situation, then that may give you some idea. I think going to masters and getting a PhD, etc., to a great extent, it depends on the individual. If the individual has the intent, has the aspiration and the urge and the thirst for doing those type of things, it is always a good thing to do. When you're hired by any of these companies, we definitely look at the level that you are, the level, the degree that you have. For example, if you are just having a bachelor or master's or PhD in computer science, you will be treated very differently, and you will be getting a different post and role inside Google depending on what level you are coming in. I have seen all over the company that people who actually come with higher degrees beyond bachelor, they are really, really getting very good positions because they have the knowledge and they have the experience. Going to graduate schools and finishing a master's and PhD not only helps you gain more knowledge, deeper knowledge, etc., it also is a signal to whomever is working with you that you were someone who was interested in that field. These days, having a bachelor is like something necessary for everyone to have, right? It is like having diploma maybe 50 years ago that everyone's supposed to have a diploma at the time. I mean, right? So having a bachelor, although it is very good, it is not as impressive as having a higher degree. It doesn't necessarily show that the person is really interested in this field. So that's one thing. The second thing is that depending on the degree that you have, your base salary is going to be adjusted. So at the very start of your work, if you are hired as a bachelor person or as a master's or as a PhD person, your base salary is going to be different. So that is the second advantage of that. And the third is that you actually have plenty of the number of people who go into the company with a PhD, for example, is way less than the number of people who go into the company as people with a bachelor degree. So the type of work that a PhD person can do is more, we have more demand for that because the supply is less for that. There are less number of people fulfilling those positions. And there is plenty, especially with these days with AI and so all of that. Work in AI is broken into two pieces. One is those who can use the AI in different areas inside the company. And the second group is the group of people who actually push the boundaries of AI. Those people who are pushing the boundaries of AI are the more knowledgeable, and those are the people who have PhDs and they're considered some kind of scientist. So depending on your interest, for me, for example, I love to be in the higher group because I enjoy more if I challenge the existing boundaries. Someone else may very well be very happy to apply the knowledge that others create and create new tools with them, apply them to the existing products. There's nothing wrong with that. And a bunch of people enjoy that more. So the first thing is that you have to look at what's your interest, which group of the people you fit in. Based on that, then decide, okay, do I want to continue, especially that the job market might not be the best at this point. Having a higher degree buys you time, gives you more skills, and potentially opens some doors in the areas that less people are going to apply for. So that's what I think is useful.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's 11:31. Any question from the people who are online? Okay, one student asked about summer internship or program that you recommend.
So we talked about the internship very briefly, but Google, and I imagine it's the same with other companies, they usually post their internship jobs. For Google, it is happening some prior, if it is summer of 2025, the person has to have applied in 2024 in November and December. So depending on different companies, that time is different. So if you have some companies in mind, look up what is the schedule for them for you to apply, and look at the postings that they have, what type of internship they are interested in. And then start applying for those. Put your resume together, try to represent yourself the way you are, and just make a case that you are a good candidate for being an intern for that company. And then once they go through that and choose people, then they assign that to different groups.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate
Sure.
that you're holding this event for our students. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'll be in touch. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.